Give us the broad 30,000-foot overview on what's happening in American schools right now with respect to this.
Yeah, well, I think, what I'm looking at, and it's just kind of an ongoing series, I just started it, is to take that same system of reporting, that same style of reporting as I did with critical race theory, but now taking a look at gender ideology. And surprise, surprise, they go really hand in hand. A lot of the districts that have been promoting CRT are also promoting this gender theory in grades as young as pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. And so kind of leading by example and showing people exactly what's happening in the classroom with original source documents, things that are irrefutable. And so I started with a story in Evanston, Illinois, kind of suburban Chicago. And they were teaching kids as young as pre-kindergarten about gender and sexuality and sexual orientation. They were having them celebrate the transgender flag in kindergarten. Then by first grade, they were actually giving these kids scripts to read where they would be performing and experimenting with different gender pronouns, not just he, her, but also things like they, them, z, zer, even what are called xenopronouns. Like tree. So you identify as a tree, kind of in the natural world, not even the human world. And these are kids that are 4 years old, 5 years old. They have no idea what this is, but they're already being habituated into saying my pronouns are they, them, my pronouns are z, zim, which are kind of bunk. These are kind of fabricated and really fake ideological constructs. But they're coming from teachers who are in a position of authority. Kids naturally trust their teacher. In some cases behind the backs of parents, to kids that are 4 and 5 years old that should be learning to kind of ABC, how to tie their shoes. And instead they're learning to kind of celebrate all of these different sexual identities. And I think parents are rightfully very apprehensive about this. You're saying, wait a minute, we're taking sexual theories from kind of graduate and college level kind of fringe ideologies, and now we're packaging them in kind of with bright colors, appealing to kids, trying to really get into the kind of sexual identity of kids at a very young age. As a parent, I have 3 kids, another one on the way, or I have 2 kids rather, with one on the way. If an adult is teaching my young kids to explore their sexuality with him or her together, that raises red flags for me.
That's creepy.
Don't really like it. Don't want it. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. And I have been following your reporting. It's crazy that this is kids as young as kindergarten, saying to them, your identity is for you to decide. They truly offer it up like a menu item, like it's your daily clothing. You forget what you've been told by your parents and society from this point, from point of birth to this point. It's totally up to you what gender you want to be. Meanwhile, the actual number of people who suffer truly from gender dysphoria is minuscule, but they offer it up like that's not like a disorder that's affecting a smaller number of Americans, and we should be kind and supportive to those people. They're trying to normalize it for the entire society writ large, starting with your 5-year-old.
That's right. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a kind of connotation set with all of these constructs. Being straight, cisgender, white, male or female, is really has a connotation in a lot of the materials that I've reviewed as negative. These are things you don't want to be. These are shameful identities. These are oppressive identities or privileged identities. And then the other identities are really kind of loaded with a connotation that is very appealing. And so in the sexual realm, I think this may explain in part why a lot of kind of white females, like juveniles, young white females, have this kind of very high rate of adoption of these kind of neo identities, pronouns, etc., because they're told very clearly being a straight white female is low status, it's low prestige, it's low desirability. And so there's an incentive structure with a lot of these materials. And again, if someone has suffering from gender dysphoria, you should treat those kids with respect. It's a kind of dangerous thing. It's correlated with a lot of kind of very scary and dangerous outcomes as far as mental illness, eating disorders, etc. But we shouldn't generalize those as a kind of roadmap for everyone else. And
no, it's like it's like
taking
depression.
You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that. But I think the literature that you see is very clear what's happening. And parents of all backgrounds, I'm doing reporting in New York City and other places where they say, hey, look, we're good Democratic voters, but this stuff is getting crazy.
I mean, listen, don't get me started on New York City. I lived that life for 10 years with 3 kids in the city. So I know my audience heard a lot about it. But it's like taking depression, which is a real thing that people suffer from, and just offering it up to the children while they're sitting there. Like, FYI, you may be depressed. You may feel really low. You may have a condition that makes you feel sad and blue and dark all the time. You're not alone. A lot of people are sad and blue and dark. And it's just this negative reinforcement to the child. Like, no, humans sometimes feel down. Sometimes they feel up. That's called being normal. It doesn't mean you're a depressive. Same as a child who, for play over at the sort of acting booth in the first grade, a boy might want to put on a dress. It doesn't mean he's transgender. A little girl like me may want to wear only pants and cowboy outfits. It didn't make me a boy. It made me maybe a tomboy, but I'm all woman, trust me, and I didn't need anybody pushing me to cross over. Your reporting on Evanston is eye-opening because that is the Midwest. It's outside of Chicago, a liberal city, but that's Midwest values. And I've got friends there who don't think this kind of thing is happening there. And you've got the slides. Okay, so we pulled some of what you're reporting. This is for 3rd graders from Chris Rufo's reporting. It says to them, think about the year 2021, 100 years from now. Write a letter or draw a poster to the future generation in the year 2021 with what you hope the world will look like. Things to think about may include LGBTQ plus equity, racial equity, and other ideas that connected to equity that are important to you. How do you hope the world is for people in the future? We're showing this slide on the board for the YouTube audience. Then they have an example for the children, just in case it wasn't on the nose enough. This is their example to 3rd graders. For example, you could write something like this. Dear future human in 2121, my name is Jay, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am 9 years old. Right now, it's the year 2021, and we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic, blah, 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 going on about how unfair society is. Some people think they're better than others. They're afraid to stand up for what's right. And of course, they get into gender, skin color, and religion. So there it is, black and white. And then to kick it off, they've got the Billy Porter shot from one of the awards ceremony. This is an actor who went in a dress. It's like a huge dress on the bottom, ball gown, and a tuxedo on the top. And Billy Porter is used as an example for the children on how gender is how someone feels inside. We may perceive someone's gender by how they look, but we cannot know for sure. Very important that our 8-year-olds see Billy Porter as an example of that, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the images that they include are kind of little boys in dresses, et cetera. And so, there are real situations, can't minimize it, that where kids are suffering from dysphoria, kids are trying to deal with this. And again, those kids should be treated with respect. They should be given all the dignity and protections and responsibility and care of any other kid. But this is something very different. This is a kind of ideological and activist campaign. And one of the things that I'm noticed, and I'm kind of putting it as a working hypothesis, but trying to see if I'm right or wrong in the actual reporting, the actual empirical evidence, is that you have a lot of, in the past, subcultures. You have teenage subcultures. Teenagers are always rebelling. I think, depending on what generation you are, you had goth, you had punk, you had a kind of emo. You had different things that dealt kind of either explicitly or implicitly with gender and sexuality, et cetera. But they were always led by and contained by the youth culture themselves. What's different about this? What's different about the kind of non-binary, they, them, et cetera? It's being driven by adults. It's being institutionalized in the curriculum and in extracurricular clubs that are being managed by adults as a youth subculture. It's very weird. I mean, it's very weird to have adults managing and encouraging a highly sexualized youth subculture. And so I think that there's something very interesting there that I'm trying to pick apart and understand in my reporting, is how much of this is driven by a genuine or maybe even a passing fad. Kind of kids are always rebelling and exploring different identities in that adolescent stage. And how much of this is being engineered by adults who are using the institutions, in many cases, public institutions and public dollars, to engineer this sexual identity or sexuality based on a political ideology. Because again, queer theory, for example, is not really about gender or identity or individual sexuality. It's at heart a political identity with a political program. And so I reject this idea that being critical in looking at these programs is somehow being opposed to LGBTQ kids or gay adults. It's nothing of the kind. It's a disagreement with this political ideology that is using, in many cases, these kids as a human shield to say, you can't oppose anything we're doing because you're against trans kids. I reject that. I think most people see through it. And that's how I'm going to be dealing with this issue in my reporting to come.
Okay, so we just got a statement from the school who's reporting, who on which you were reporting, District 65 in Evanston in Illinois. They write, thanks for reaching out. In District, I'm not going to read this very long, but here's the statement in part. In District 65, we believe strongly in creating inclusive, welcoming environments where every child can feel safe, valued, and has the support and encouragement to reach their full potential. You get the trigger words, right? Safe, right? How's it safe for somebody who's totally secure in their gender identity to be offered repeatedly the notion that it's fluid, that it could change on a dime, that they might reconsider it? They go on to say, throughout our LGBTQ equity unit of study, educators in pre-K through 8th grade students broadened their understanding of identity of self and others, allyship, family structures, vocabulary, gender expression, stereotypes, colors on the intersectional pride flag, and history. This includes state of Illinois requirements for public schools across the state to include the roles and contributions of LGBTQ people in its curriculum. So they're saying, don't blame us, blame the state, but we love it. During the month of April, each grade level engaged in a developmentally and age-appropriate selection of these topics, blah, blah, blah. This is the 3rd year we've done it. We believe the lessons center the academic and social emotional needs of the children. They build community, and so on. Are you tired of feeling like someone's always watching you on the internet? Maybe advertisers know a little bit too much about you, or you're concerned about the privacy of your identity. Who isn't? Using incognito mode will not solve the problem either. IPVanish VPN is here to help you. They will protect your right to privacy and help you stay anonymous online. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet without exposing all your private details to third parties. You can use IPVanish on your computer, tablet, phone, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. When you use IPVanish, all of your data is encrypted. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan. Think about that. 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That is like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish is super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you are instantly protected. Take your privacy back today with the brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Go to ipvanish.com/Megyn and use that promo code Megyn to claim your 70% savings. ipvanish.com/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.